Story time.
And today I want to talk about my 5 most underrated parts of squash. And some of them are going to have to do with tactics, some of them are going to be about certain shots. But I don't think I can start without saying, obviously, the serve is probably one of the most underrated parts of squash. A lot of people just get to the service box, put it in play. They don't vary their serve, they don't pick a target, they don't think about, they're just starting the rally basically. And you see that at all the levels, right? From beginner, where you're starting to get it in, and then all the way to advanced levels, like professionals, some professionals. Obviously, when you get to that higher level, they're very conscious of it, because if they hit a poor serve, it's getting punished and they're under pressure right away. So it's very, very important to have different types of serves, to pay attention to your serve. That one's really important. Another one that's a little bit about tactics that I see is really underused and is very, very important to squash is just being able to lift the ball. So being able to slow the ball down. A lot of people just enjoy hitting everything fast. They're running fast, they swing hard, they like to hit the ball hard, and I do too. But you also need to be able to lift the ball, absorb pressure. That's a super, super important part of squash. So definitely very underrated. And you don't see enough people doing that. So that's something I would highly recommend that you think about when you get back on the squash court. Another really important technical point for me, so the third one is going to be how you're telegraphing your shot. So it's not just about how you're set up to hit, it's how you're approaching the ball. So a lot of people don't really pay attention that when you're moving to the ball, a lot of times is very predictable. You move to the ball a certain way, you're set up most likely to hit a certain shot, which is usually the simplest way to play a certain ball. So you're under pressure at the front. Very common is going to be just hitting cross court, right? It's very difficult to adapt your swing. So I think learning how to position yourself on the way to the ball so you have a couple of options. You're not just stuck, unless you're really under pressure, going just to lift it, maybe play a counter drop. So there are some times where you're not worried about disguising your shot. But for the most part, a lot of the times you want to actually get into position where you could have multiple options to play, so your opponent can't just be on that next shot so early, right? And if they're on the next shot really early, your shot has to be nearly perfect, or else you're back under more pressure. Okay, and that kind of brings me to the next point. So getting on the ball earlier than required, right? A lot of people think as long as they get it before the second bounce, that's fine. But you'll notice if you watch the pros play, like especially out of the back of the court, it's not just about volleying to get on the ball early. It's just they're in the back corner before the ball. They're not letting the ball beat them to the back corner, and then they're just struggling just to hit a shot. That's pressure. You're not going to hit a great shot if the ball's there and you're just barely getting it before the second bounce. So it takes a lot more energy to get on the ball early and get set up, and then have time to kind of be still over your shot and then hit a good ball. But that's going to allow you to have more options and to hit either a more attacking shot, be more precise, maybe being able to disguise your shot. So I think that's really, really critical in squash. You have to make that really a conscious effort to just get to that ball early, and then you have options. At the front of the court, you can go and get on the ball early, and that way you can either hit it early, so you're rushing your opponent. Maybe they have to run through the tee, they're not even at the tee yet. Or you can go up and hold the ball, and that's basically going to wrong foot your opponent. They might think you're hitting it early, and then they've moved, and then you're hitting the ball maybe back a different direction. So that's really, really important. And then my fifth and final point that I feel is undervalued in squash is just going in with a game plan. And that's something that at every level, from beginners to even really good, some of the top players I've worked with, that they go on court and they really have no game plan. They just go out there and just play, and they just whatever happens. And then when you have those fluctuations in a match where things aren't going well, you have a little rough patch, or you don't have a game plan, you just make a few poor decisions, it's hard to really reset and get back into what is going to help you do well. And sometimes people maybe have an idea or a game plan, but then they abandon it very quickly because it's not working right away. So that's something that's really undervalued in squash. So if you haven't watched, I did an episode on tactics. So definitely go back and watch that to learn about making some game plans going into your match, and then obviously having some variations of that game plan that you can do, and you need to practice those. And obviously just playing more matches, you'll get more experience doing that. But those are my 5 key factors, or 5 most underrated areas of squash, in my opinion. But there's obviously a lot, but I feel like those are things that are applicable to almost every level. Maybe not getting on the ball early, for a beginner, intermediate player, but definitely almost all those are very applicable to every level. And I think if you pay attention to those, work on those, you're going to become a much better, well-rounded squash player. So that's it for this episode of Storytime. I hope you enjoyed the tips I've given you, and you'll be able to apply some of those into your own game.